The Kanto region, the first Pokemon region to ever exist. The one that has been showcased in the most games and above all, the one that will always come back to haunt us, from time to time at least, whenever the franchise needs a strong injection of that good old nostalgia serum. One we not only visited in its own games, but also in other regions' games, as it was the case in Gold, Silver, Crystal and its remakes. The first story to ever get a sequel, and maybe one that will eventually get another. Well, hey, I'm not so Ace Trainer, and what about Mewtwo? Let's get into it. The other day, I was writing the script for a Mewtwo video, and after hours and hours of research, I remembered that Captain Fidget already has one, and you should check that out for sure. So, of course, I scrapped the whole thing right then and there. But there was another thing that came to me while doing that research, and that was how we have 2 Mewtwo in game canon. I know that technically we have more, since every single legendary, at least recently, has been catchable in one way or another. There's the Ultra Space having a Mewtwo from another world, there's the Max Slayer doing weird Dynamax things, and there's the Ramana Spark with legendaries liking the scent of flowers, I guess. But as a Pokemon that is waiting for us to get it, there's only 2. We all know about the OG one from the Gen 1 games, the one that's waiting for us in the Cerulean Cave at the end of our adventure, and that does make an appearance in the Johto remakes as well, but we also have the one from Pokemon X and Y that's in the Kalos region, more specifically in the Unknown Dungeon that lies in Pokemon Village. This is very interesting since, unlike in anime canon, only one Mewtwo was created from Mew, nothing more. Another fun fact, of course, the Unknown Dungeon was the original name for the Cerulean Cave, though it never made its way to the final version of the games. Sure, nowadays we can simply say, oh right, that Mewtwo comes from another timeline, since we had the whole Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet thing, and X and Y were the start of the Mega Timeline thing, but since Let's Go has a Mewtwo and it has Mega Pokemon, it wouldn't work that well. So if that isn't the case, if they are not different Pokemon, then what's going on? Well, first we gotta situate ourselves in time. We have to understand when X and Y happens. And this isn't as hard as it could be, considering how Pokemon's timeline is absolutely insane. Basically, we do know that 3 years passed between Gen 1 and Gen 2. Then we know that some time has passed between Gen 2 and Gen 5 because Caitlyn went from being 14 years old to looking more mature as a Unova Elite Four member. And we do know that at least 2 years passed during the story of Gen 5 from Pokemon Black and White to Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. And finally, considering there's a mention of Team Plasma making the news by an NPC in the Magenta Plaza in Lumiose City, likely a reference to the events from Black 2 and White 2, that would mean that X and Y happens at around the time of the climax of our Unovan adventure. This means that there is likely a big gap between the last time we saw Mewtwo in the Cerulean Cave, that being in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and the last time we saw Mewtwo, quote-unquote, in the wild, which was in X and Y, the Unknown Dungeon. So now we have 2 roads we can take, one of them being pretty fun and the other being pretty boring. The boring one is, of course, there are 2 Mewtwo, there are more than 1 Mewtwo roaming the world, and that's all that is to it, don't need to think about it. But well, the fun one can get a lot crazier. So, if we want to keep things within the realm of the Mega Timeline, we can, and I will technically, though don't see it as a cage. I feel like the Mega Timeline, especially now that we know there are a lot more universes, holds less weight in these things. There are probably infinite Mega Timelines with infinite different events. The important part is how since Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Cerulean Cave has been portrayed as having glowing blue crystals. This becomes especially apparent in Pokemon Let's Go when you can actually see Pokemon like Melmetal change their appearance when close to them. In a way, changing metal to gold, not quite altering the functions of living things, but temporarily altering living things themselves. Right now you're probably saying, come on Ace, is this another one of those, oh look at this Tera looking crystal in another region kind of videos, and to that I say, oh yeah it is. In Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, we see firsthand how easily these crystals can spread and how they can be and were brought to different regions. While it all started in Paldea in Area 0, the crystals were brought to Kitakami and thus the crystal pool was born. In Unova, Briar was able to replicate the phenomenon by using materials she took from the soil in Paldea and the crystal pool water. And we also know from Carmine that they've been to all sorts of different regions. While Carmine has only joined Briar recently after the events of the Teal Mask, Briar has been obsessed with Tera Energy her whole life. She has been obsessed with proving that Heath was right. And so she probably visited a lot of regions before. And we have examples of these Tera-like crystals in Unova, in Hoenn, and now in Kanto as well. So what do we know about Mewtwo? We know that it resents humans and isolated itself in the cave in order to stay hidden from the world. And while technically we found it in every single Kanto game and in the Johto remakes, well, catching it is never really canon, as we already know. The events of the story do happen, but not necessarily the catches and things like that. So imagine if Briar went to the Cerulean Cave. She likely didn't go alone, she probably took people with her into that place, trying to figure out if they were Tera crystals, if the Terapagos was connected to that place as well. It's also possible, in case those truly were Tera crystals, that Mewtwo saw the images of Paradox Pokemon reacting to the experiments of the professors. Pokemon that do not act the same way as a regular Pokemon would. They're vicious, feral, and seemingly man-made, kinda like Mewtwo is. And so, with its peace disturbed, Mewtwo leaves in order to find a new place where it can stay hidden. A place where Pokemon that have been hurt by humans can stay and be safe from civilization. Safe from the hands of evil teams and evildoers, and it was in the southern part of the Kalos region that it found such a thing. It was in the Pokemon village. This is of course only a theory, but if they really are the same Pokemon, then something truly had to change in that place to make Mewtwo leave. And that made me think of a video I made a while ago about no more remakes. The Kanto region, while being one of the few places to ever get a sequel, is one of the few places that lacks any lore of its past. It does a good job representing its theme of progress and evolution, though we know very little about how it was in the days where legends are made, the days before Mewtwo even existed. The legendary birds are common to so many regions, and besides them, there's very little there. Was it really a war that happened, or something else entirely? The more I think about it, the more I hope that one day we have a Legends Kanto game waiting for us, or at least a new Kanto story that isn't the same one we've played over and over again. And that is all I have for you today, just a fun theory on why Mewtwo is in Kalos and what that could mean for a future Kanto game, and maybe even hint at the Legends Kanto game, I don't know. But what about you? Why do you think Mewtwo is in that place? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content and also ring the bell so you know when the next video is out. I also want to thank my Twitch viewer, OddCypher, for claiming the shoutout for this video. Thank you so much for all of your support. Also, check out my merch or consider becoming a channel member in order to support me even further. I'll be forever thankful for that. You can follow me on social media or check out one of my streams here and on Twitch every day of the week. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.